Hey everybody, welcome to the Citizen Sports Weekly. I'm Robert Harding, of course, and this week joined by Jeremy Houghtaling, Citizen Sports reporter and better than Chris Syrria.
It's great to be on here. I'm glad I could grace this with my presence.
We're an Emmy Award-winning show, maybe.
After I'm on it.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about sports and other stuff this week. Chris, of course, is out on vacation. You know, typical summer thing.
As always.
As always. Chris is stepping out for the last time, I think. He'll be back next week. But this week, we get Houghtaling, and we're going to talk about some minor league sports first. These minor league sports rankings that came out, Sports Business Daily did them, and Auburn, of all places, ranked 48th. Let's talk about that.
Okay. Where do you want to start?
48th, that's where I want to start. How come so high?
Well, I was kind of surprised at how high they were. No offense, but obviously Auburn was ranked a little bit lower a couple years ago. And by a little bit, I mean I think they were 98 or 99. So to have that jump was pretty amazing. And I looked into the methodology, and a big part of it was, of course, the tenure. And of course, the Doubleday / Astro / seems like a billion other team names. Auburn has been in the New York Penn League pretty much continuously since the 50s, besides 1 year, and that obviously helps because the tenure was about 2/3 of the scoring, I guess, in this.
Yeah. It's an odd choice to pick that, but I guess when you're a national publication and you're not going to travel to each of these places, I mean, Auburn beat out Utica by 100 and some odd spots, so it kind of makes sense.
As it should be.
As it should be.
Unless you're watching from Utica, and then I didn't say it, you take it out of context or something. But also Auburn was one of 5 or 6 places that got extra credit for being community owned, and obviously that can be a good thing. So I think they gave. I have the list in front of me actually. Auburn, Elmira, Rochester, Syracuse, North Little Rock, Arkansas, and Elizabethton, Tennessee, and I'm probably butchering that last one.
We'll talk to Nathan Baker about it. He's familiar with that place. Former Citizen employee. Syracuse was ranked 38th, right?
Yes.
And obviously they have the Crunch. They have the
Chiefs.
The Chiefs, right?
The Silver
Forgot
Knights.
the baseball team.
The Silver Knights.
Oh, so sad.
Yeah, I think in terms of tenure, you have the Crunch, which are the third longest continuously tenured team in the American Hockey League. The Silver Knights have been around for, I don't even know, I should have looked this up before we started talking about it. And then the Chiefs have been around for probably ever in the International League. So.
Long time, yeah. The interesting thing to me is how well, upstate cities did. Obviously Rochester makes the list. Syracuse is on there, Auburn.
Binghamton was fairly high up, too.
Binghamton, yep. And, it just shows that there's a lot of different minor league sports markets here. You don't count Buffalo and New York City, obviously.
Right.
But you look at some of these other places, and, minor league teams tend to thrive there.
Absolutely. I think, it also helps because a lot of these places are so close together. So, when a lot of these leagues were starting, especially like the New York Penn League, you did have teams that were Geneva and Elmira, and they were also close together. Obviously, that's starting to thin out a little bit, unfortunately. But I think that groundwork is still kind of there today, and it shows that there are places that are still thriving.
So let's talk hockey, because
Okay.
you're a hockey guy.
Yes, correct.
And the NHL, they're making this change to 3-on-3 overtimes.
And obviously covering the Crunch, the American Hockey League experimented with this last year. And I said that I liked that the NHL was doing 3-on-3 because I think that is better than the shootout. For me, it's at least more exciting. Although I don't hate the shootout, but I don't love it.
The shootout seems to divide hockey fans.
Yeah, and I'm kind of on the fence. So I guess I'm in between. But I think I do like 3-on-3 better. It's very wide open hockey, and it tends to end things very quickly because as soon as you take a 2-on-1 the other way, there's about a 50% chance of scoring, and then if that team doesn't score, it seems like it's taken immediately the other way. It's basically odd man rush after odd man rush after odd man rush, and it doesn't take too long for that to end. But what I do wish is that the NHL did take a cue directly out of the AHL's book here, And because what the AHL did was they had a 7-minute overtime instead of 5. And halfway through, they'd switch from 4-on-4 overtime to 3-on-3. And I thought that worked better because 4-on-4 does seem more natural, obviously, because it is a little bit more traditional, I guess, because it's very rare to see a 3-on-3 during regular play. But I do think that once they kind of switched to 3-on-3, you could immediately kind of tell the difference, and it was less about good strategies and coaching as much as great players that are on the ice, and obviously being able to work together in a very, I don't want to say informal, but very, very loose environment.
Mm-hmm. With the AHL experience, how did coaches approach that? Did they put out, forward 2 defensemen? I mean, how did they tend to work that strategy? Because obviously you don't want to be too conservative, because if you do have that 2-on-1, you want a couple scorers out there, but at the same time you don't want to be
generally you have 2 forwards and then your fastest defenseman.
Makes sense.
But Syracuse and especially under Rob Zettler has been very aggressive in terms of overtime play. And there was a couple years ago where the Crunch actually came back to beat Utica. I think they were down by 3 or 4 in the last couple minutes. They rallied to tie it, and then they won in overtime. And Brett Connolly scored the overtime goal. And what was interesting was there's already 2 forwards out there, and Zettler taps him on the shoulder for 4-on-4 play, and he goes, "Get out there." And of course, Connolly kind of looks at him, and he even in the post-game interview, he kind of was like, no, I'm not a defenseman. He goes, no, go out there. And he scores this overtime goal because he threw out 3 forwards in 4-on-4 play, which is kind of unheard of. But, if you feel like you have the momentum and you feel like being aggressive, sometimes it obviously works out.
Yeah, I'll say that. It's an interesting part of this because, AHL, you translate it to NHL, how are the coaches going to tackle this? And it's going to be interesting, do they throw 1 forward out there, 2 forwards? They throw all 3 guys as forwards, it's going to be a wide open affair. Why not, right? So,
right. Well, and it puts a premium on not only quality defensemen but fast defensemen. So guys like Duncan Keith and guys that can play a whole lot of minutes, will be a real premium for that.
Yeah, really the kind of two-way guys, instead of the stay-at-home guys.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's going to be interesting to me as a Sabres fan. Obviously you follow the Crunch and you've seen this a lot more. It's going to be interesting to see how the NHL adjusts to this, and it's going to be fun, I think.
Absolutely.
So let's close out talking some MMA. This is something I've talked MMA with Chris before, but he doesn't watch.
Right.
You watch.
Well, I watch when I can.
Yeah, you watch when you can. One of the things that came up recently is Betch Correa saying she wants a rematch against Ronda Rousey. Rousey, of course, knocked her out in 30 seconds. 34 seconds.
I think.
To be technical.
Yeah. Give her that extra 4 seconds. She needs it. She was the one that I thought was really interesting because in our post-fight press conference, she goes, "I thought I was doing really well." And it's like, you thought you were doing well for 20 seconds? And
she
then,
stood for more than 14 seconds, yeah.
Congrats. I mean, that's amazing, I guess.
Doing well is not ending up in an Instagram video, apparently. But yeah, she wants a rematch. We both watched that fight. It was pretty clear who owned that fight.
Well, and it wasn't even like Rousey beat her in typical fashion where she says, I'll take her down and take her arm.
Right.
It was like, I'm going to beat you at your game, and it still took her 34 seconds to beat her at her game. And was Rousey marked up a little bit afterward? Obviously it looked like she had some redness.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
She had a little blood coming from the nose.
Oh, really?
I think, yeah,
okay.
a little bit.
I didn't see that, but okay. But I still think that Correa has to do a little bit more to deserve a rematch than saying, I lasted 34 seconds.
Right.
Obviously there's other contenders out there. I think Miesha Tate would do well in a second time around. And obviously the Kat Zingano question is always going to be out there. Or not Kat Zingano, excuse me. Cyborg. Question is always going to be out there.
Yeah, to me, Rousey's next 2 fights, obviously Tate. We're going to see Miesha Tate again. Tate's the number 1 contender right now. And I think they're going to settle this Cyborg question. I think we're going to see that fight. Probably not by the end of this year. I think that's what Cyborg wants. I think we're going to see it sometime in 2016, which is fine. I don't think UFC's in any big rush. They have Aldo McGregor coming up, of course, later this year. So, they really can use that Cyborg Rousey fight as one of their next big, mega cards, if you will. I think they can really turn that into a big show. So, but, as far as, where Betch falls in all this.
Well, she came in as the number 7 or 8 contender.
Yeah, she was at 7th in the rankings, I think, in the women's bantamweight.
And they build it up as like a big thing, but it's like, if it's such a big fight, then why is she only ranked 7?
Yeah, and that's where UFC's rankings really make you scratch your head sometimes. But one of the tricky things with the with the women's division right now, the women's bantamweight division, is that if you look at those top 7 or 8, Rousey's beaten most of them,
right,
including Tate.
Actually, who was the one that Rousey beat in 7 seconds? Was it Zingano, the one where she ran at her and she immediately got put into an armbar?
Zingano, yeah.
I would prefer to see her get a rematch because it seemed like it was still a big mistake, but it was at least just one mistake to where maybe she gets a little bit smarter with how to come out of start the fight, and then she'd be able to last a little longer.
Yeah, I think that's what really separates Tate, is that Tate is much more cerebral than some of the other opponents that have gone against Rousey. Not that Tate stands a chance, and but Tate can at least hang with her and put up a fight, and that's Tate doesn't go charging at her and try to end it within a few seconds, because she knows that that's a good way to have it
right,
either end up tapping out or getting knocked out. So she can at least make it a fight and possibly get out of that first round. But Zingano, Correa, they just haven't learned this lesson, I guess. They just figure, let's go for broke right now, and it just hasn't worked out well.
Yeah, but I think with Rousey, it is one of those things where you do have to kind of throw essentially like a Hail Mary pass and just hope that it works.
Yeah, maybe that's the stage that the women's bantamweight division's at. Outside of Tate, I guess. If I get this chance, I'm going to go for broke right away. So
you may as well, because you're probably not going to get the chance again.
Right. Yeah.
Because this coming up with Tate, theoretically, obviously, it hasn't been booked yet officially.
Officially, right.
I
think Dana White said that.
That would be her first rematch with anybody, wouldn't it? Because it seems very unlikely that anybody gets a rematch. They lose and then they're done, and you kind of hear them fighting other people.
Yeah. I think as far as UFC goes, it would be her first rematch. So because she faced Tate pre-UFC,
right? It was in Strike
well.
Force.
So yeah. That's where the infamous armbar that snapped Tate's arm, basically. Good times. Well, I think that does it. Got anything else you want to say? This is a rare appearance for you. Your first appearance, a rare chance to talk. Anything to get off your chest about sports?
I can't wait for Chris to come back, and he can have that on video.
He will probably take that clip.
There's going to be
an endless loop.
Yeah,
I think
it's going to be his new ringtone.
Yeah, I can't wait for Chris to come back. Yeah, good stuff. Well, thanks for joining me this week. It
was a pleasure to be here.
I needed a tag team partner with Chris out. Moneybags usually fills in, but he decided to take a vacation too, so I had to go for the closer. Couldn't settle for the setup man.
Good thing I don't have very much vacation left.
That is a very good thing. So we'll be back next week. Chris will return for another edition of the Sports Weekly. Until then, enjoy your week, and we'll see you then.